This tank is the VK100-01P. This is a German Tier 8 heavy tank. The map is Epic Normandy. I'm using a base defense strategy where I take heavily armored vehicles and I put them right on the base, and I prevent the enemy from accessing the base because I scare them away, or if they try to come up, I shoot at them, do damage to them. And because I have such strong armor, they can't really do anything. They can't get rid of me. Or it's difficult for them to get rid of me. And I've had games where I've gone with a well-armored tank and they've gotten rid of me quickly. And I've had games where I've gone with a well-armored tank and I've blocked tons of damage. It depends on your location. It depends on where the enemy snipers are. Depends on what tanks the enemy has. The best position that I found is basically to be on this side of the slope, a little bit over here to the right, not exactly where the T-44 is, but where he is would work fine. And don't advance any further. You can actually sit right there. So we're getting close to a position where you can defend from. Perhaps where I'm rolling into right now is a good defense position. Not necessary to go further into the base. But, you know, you gotta try. You gotta try and see what happens. There's no one to tell me the correct strategy, so I have to figure it out on my own. And everybody can call me a noob. You're a noob! Okay. Okay, so let's go back into the game mode so we can see the correct sniper mode. So now that I've taken some damage, I am reversing. He showed me a side turret, but unfortunately I missed. You really want to have the vertical stabilizers and the gun laying drives the vertical stabilizers, yeah, and the gun laying drives, because you got to aim. You're shooting at longer distances in this game, and aiming is more important than reloading. So I'm low on hit points, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start heading back to the repair facility. You can see that I reversed. Get it up to 100%, turn while I'm repairing, head back out. And I want to use the same strategy. The strategy is to have strong armor, prevent them from capping. You have to kill the enemy tank to stop the capping. The artillery has been a pain in my butt, so I would say that one of your biggest threats is a good enemy artillery. If they know the right tank to focus on, they can be a real pain.
Zone B has been lost. The enemy got extra time.
Now, it's really bad for me to show him my side armor. But, you got to take the approach properly. I took the wrong approach to get up to the hill. That's actually a good angle that I have right there. Maybe not. If you don't know what to do, if you've got... Right now, we've got an enemy tank, the Mauerbrecher, in the center of the screen. And then we've got these other tanks, the IS-6 and the Defender. And if you don't know how to angle your tank, you're going to point one corner towards one group of tanks, and you're going to point the other corner towards the other tank. And that's going to give you the best angle when you're out in the open against two different opponents. And that's absolutely what I'm doing right now. Take a look at that angle. Unfortunately, that was a lousy shot. I always reverse while I'm reloading, and when I'm halfway reloaded, I go back into my firing position. So I want to fire as soon as it's reloaded. That maximizes your DPM. I believe that may have been with an HE round. I think I loaded up an HE round. Perhaps there's a bug in the game that doesn't show what round I used when I fired. I don't know. Switch. Am I switching back to? Yeah, I'm switching back to the HE rounds. Go after that guy. Now he's not capping, so what I could do is just do nothing. The best strategy: don't take any damage. Just sit there and do nothing. Stay hidden. Let it be his problem. Wait until he tries to cap. When he tries to cap, then you go after him. He's low on hit points, so I want to take him out of the game. So I'm going after the tank with the lowest number of hit points.
Reinforcements have arrived.
I got 2,800 damage, 3,800 blocked by armor.
You have been promoted.
And I got 1,700 spotting damage. In 10 seconds, I'm going to have the artillery shot. It takes a while to learn. You notice that I saw the Progetto behind me, which is why I showed you the rear view, but my ally took him out of the game. I took way too long to aim. I'm up to 4,600 blocked by armor. I forgot to use my artillery. You want to use those. Yeah, see, I got hit by the artillery, so I wasted my repair kit. Should have used it earlier. So now it's time to go back for repairs. Usually when I'm repairing, that's when I'm going to use my artillery. Because while you're repairing, you have the time, you're sitting there waiting, nothing to do. Load up that combat reserve. Okay. So unfortunately, I didn't make it back to repair, but let's move on to the next video. This tank is the Defender, or the Object 252U, I believe. This is a Russian Tier 8 heavy tank. It's also a premium tank. The map is Epic Normandy in the Frontline game mode. Now, the reason why I'm pulling out this tank, I prefer to bring out the Chrysler GF or the VK101P. But the VK101P is rather slow, so you really only want to bring it out if you're really close to the base or if you're not going to go anywhere. And perhaps I couldn't respawn the Chrysler GF, but I wanted to try a hull-down tank. The enemy tank was a Defender before I respawned, so I thought, well, maybe if I pull out a Defender, we'll be evenly matched. Yeah, look at that. Easy targets. Now, obviously, I was at a bad angle when I took a shot at him. And I don't think he's going to be there for quite a while. I remember waiting and waiting and waiting, hoping that people would stop tracking him and that he would reverse and I would be able to kill him. It was my marriage fantasy. You'll notice on the minimap there's a Type 59 behind me. And I'm concerned with that Type 59 because he could shoot me from behind. So these tanks are hull down, but what's important is that they're not capping. I'm switching to high explosive rounds. I thought for a second there that the Type 59 had killed off the Progetto 46 because the text overlapped. It looks like the Progetto had died, so that's why I quickly flipped around to see what was going on. Now you notice a T-32 FL showed up on the minimap. My team's doing a decent job over here at the base, but I am concerned you don't want this T-32 to come up and flank all my allies. So I decided that I was going to ignore him for now. I'm looking at the mini-map to see if he has line of sight on me. When you drop artillery, you want to drop it on someone who's not moving, and you want to make sure that there's going to be no objects in the way. That was an HE round that I fired at the low because I thought I was going to be shooting at somebody's turret. I was checking that T-32 to see if he could shoot at me, but he can't. I still have these HE rounds because I was expecting to be able to... I was expecting to have to shoot at the turrets of these enemy tanks. So I did do damage on that shot. I accidentally hit the auto-aim. Unfortunately, it happens sometimes. I noticed that my ally's having trouble with that T-32, but I think we're going to be fine. Keep these guys far away as possible. Now, my ally is using the Inspire Combat Reserve, which is giving me an additional 10% bonus for my crew skills. I'm low on hit points, so I'm going to have to go back for repairs. Let's see what happens. While I'm here, I usually check my combat reserves, because if I can fire my artillery while I'm waiting here, I usually do. There's many games where I forget to fire my artillery. I also told the OHO that he should go in for repairs, and he's asking for help on his flank, and he is going to go in for repairs. So at this point, total for the game is 4,700 damage, 3,600 blocked by armor, 2,200 spotting damage. That's obviously including tanks that I played earlier in this game. Go a little faster. Somebody knows I'm here. So the low is still there. Just an anecdote. I met a Bavarian woman, and I asked her how to pronounce low, L-O-W-E. I kind of knew it was Löwe. No, I asked her how to pronounce Lowenbrow, and she said in German or in Bavarian it's pronounced Löwenbräu. So for those who were curious about that. Oh, kill that guy, come on. So I did 509 damage to that tank, plus 66 on fire. That was 575 damage that I did to that tank. Yeah, I missed a shot on him. I am low on hit points, so I do need to go in for repairs again. The OHO is coming forward to take my place. We really need something here fast, because now I'm the only one defending. So now that OHO has to get up there. It's possible, if you look at the mini-map, you can see that there's a lot of enemy tanks down there. This is the point where the enemy should rush to the cap. They have twice as many tanks, not quite twice as many, but almost twice as many tanks that we do, and they should rush that cap. And let's see what happens. Well, we're going to see that in another video. This tank is the Chrysler GF. This is an American Tier 8 heavy tank. It's also a premium tank, and the map is Epic Normandy in the Frontline game mode. I'm at Cap Area C, Zone C is what they call it. And the strategy that I'm using is I'm taking my vehicle and I'm trying to prevent the enemy from entering the cap. I'm trying to scare them away. I'm firing at them, obviously, if they enter the cap. And I'm using a strongly armored vehicle, so it's difficult for them to get rid of me. I've tried various positions. Sometimes I like to go forward, because if they don't come out, then if I can prevent them from coming out, it's easier for me. And what I've noticed is sometimes they refuse to come out, and I can keep them pinned in on the beach. And I have seen games where the entire assaulting team is stuck on the beach and they can't leave because all the exit ways are blocked. So that's basically what I'm doing. It looks like it's pretty easy for me right now. I'm pointing the front of my tank in the direction that I think the enemy might fire from, because I want them to bounce off that strong frontal armor. Really important to have the gun laying drive and the vertical stabilizers, because you have to aim over a long distance. So now I'm down to less than half of my health. So I got to get out of there. Showing my side armor is a really bad idea, but I really have no choice. So the idea now is to get to the repair zone. And that wasn't really a good attempt at defending the base. I've had much more successful attempts. It's really difficult to leave when you still have a decent amount of health points, but I could easily lose this in a split second. I could get nailed for 600 damage or 700 damage and game over. Well, not game over, but for that tank. So it's really difficult to leave. But at some point, obviously, I'm going to. You'll notice that there's a scorpion that's coming around the side, and I'm pinging on the map so that my allies know that there's a threat around the corner. I could have taken him out, but unfortunately he had a buddy with him. And I didn't want to take a chance at potentially dying, because I don't know if I can kill him with one shot. Very important to stay alive in this game, because you can be alive from a long distance and do a lot of good for your team. As you can see, there was another tank on with him that I did have to worry about, but I think my allies are going to help me out. And when we're in this position, we're really not doing anything. Should really point my gun at him. See, my allies came through with some sort of artillery attack, or maybe it was an SPG. So now it's going to be very difficult for me to get to the repair area while those tanks are there. And I figured, well, there's an Oho and a Progetto behind me. I think they'll deal with that Scorpion, even though the Scorpion just nailed me in the rear. You really want to kill those tanks. Killing them prevents them from capping. This tank is the Chrysler GF. This is an American Tier 8 heavy tank. The map is called Epic Normandy. The great characteristic about this tank is that it's got really strong frontal armor. I believe it's around 150 millimeters, and it's sloped. So it's going to ricochet, it's going to block a lot of armor, it's going to block a lot of damage, and the turret armor is pretty good. And one of the tactics that I use is you want to prevent the enemy from capping. So what I do is I sit near the base and I threaten the enemy and I intimidate the enemy and do whatever it takes to make them afraid to cap or fail to try. So you have to take up various positions depending, this is, I believe, cap C. Depending on what cap you're on, you're going to use a different tactic. With this one, all you got to do is take up a position along the back here or along over there. It's not necessary. You can see I went forward. They don't like the Chrysler, so obviously they're going to hide from me. And you'll notice that I'm angling my tank. Oh, it's not going to let me show you. Okay, there it is. You notice that I'm angling my tank so that it increases the chance that they ricochet off my frontal armor. You want to put the gun a little bit to the inside of the corner. And you do it with every tank. You even do it with tank destroyers. So it looks like an ally has to hide behind me. I don't know what's going on with this guy. He freaked out. There's a lot of hills that block the enemy from doing something. This IS-6 is going to do a lot of damage to me. He must be a good player. Let's see what happens. When you get down to a certain number of hit points, like 25%, you got to go for repairs. Now, I'm going to start shooting HE rounds at him, which will damage him, but not enough. I think that one was a missed shot. He must know where a weak spot is. Okay, so I'm out of the game. This tank is the Chrysler GF. This is an American Tier 8 heavy tank. And the map is Epic Normandy. This is pretty late in the game. You can see that the enemy still hasn't taken C, but they've taken A and B and D. And there's a lot of enemy tanks. They've got 5 tanks more than we do on this spawn. And I was really concerned because I had just died and there was only the OHO to defend the base. And there's a large number of enemy tanks that could easily swarm that base and cap it out really fast. But let's see if they're going to do that. And what I can say is that the players are not smart enough to do that. I had a game where I was begging my team, and I was explaining to them, there's 10 of us, there's only 3 enemy tanks, rush the base, and my team just didn't do it. And we ended up losing the game. So you can see we're coming under heavy fire because they way outnumber us. So I was just promoted to Major, which I guess is pretty good. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to stop the onslaught on that cap. And the enemy is now capping. So they had to clear out our entire team. Oh, someone reset the cap. Must have been with an artillery shell. But they had to basically clear out our entire team before they figured out that they should get on that cap. And there it is. This tank is the AMX CDA 105. This is a French Tier 8 tank destroyer, and the map is Epic Normandy, which is in the Frontline game mode. Now, the reason why I chose this tank is because I was expecting to do some long-range sniping. This tank doesn't have very strong frontal armor. The gun penetrates fairly well, but the advantage is it's quite fast. It does at least 50 kilometers. It's quite mobile on the battlefield. And it's important to have a fast tank. In this game, speed is extremely important. Speed will give you a lot of advantages. So I was hoping maybe I could come in with a high penetrating gun and penetrate these tanks that are hull down, penetrate their turrets. And I want to do it without using the APCR rounds. I'm angling my tank. I'm in part reversing to reload and in part angling the tank so he is more likely to ricochet off my tank. Yeah, there's some hidden snipers out there. You don't want them ruining your day. It's possible that I'm unspotted now, which is why they're no longer firing at me.
Attackers got extra time.
They are at the edge of my spotting range.
Been promoted.
Just barely missed them. Now there's a Tiger 2 I see in front of me, and I'm worried that he might be on the cap. I didn't read the mini-map properly. I thought that he might be on the cap, when in fact he wasn't. So I thought, oh, I'll go after that tiger too. And then I realized, oh, you know what? He's not on the cap. So it was a little confusing, and that was my fault for misreading the mini-map and for not seeing what's immediately in front of me, obviously. Obviously, when you have long-range snipers, it's very important to be hidden.